Hello everyone, welcome, my name is Phoenix and this is the Consumer's Guide to Filmmaking. Avatar: The Last Airbender, 2005 to 2008, Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. This series follows a pair of kids from the Water Nation named Sokka and Katara. While fishing for their tribe, they stumble across an iceberg, but this iceberg has a boy trapped inside it. Breaking free, this boy reveals himself to be the long-lost Avatar named Aang. With war being waged by the Fire Nation and destruction knocking on the doorstep of every other nation, as Sozin's comet looms near to enhance the power of the Fire Nation, Aang must travel the world and master every element in order to end this war. This series has been recommended to me by both people I know personally as well as people I follow in the film community. Everyone and their dog loves this show. I think the decision to finally watch this show was worth it, because this show is pretty damn good. It's not great, but it's pretty damn good. What shines in this show is the technical elements. Let's try this again. Showrunners Michael Dante DiMartino and Brian Konietzko. Good God, I said it earlier. I don't know why I couldn't say it then. Fuck it. Continue. Create something genuinely special with this. Using an Americanized version of the anime style, the character models and designs have tons of personality to them. The environments and the worlds these two envisioned are beautiful as well. Everything revels in ancient and modern Eastern culture, indigenous cultures, and Eastern folklore. And these two showrunners heighten and build on these ideas to create something unique and memorable. Each nation and their inhabitants all look distinct and have so much personality. The Fire Nation are ancient Chinese warlords but have modern weapons like tanks and stuff. And they all live near like giant palaces. The Water Nation are Inuit tribesmen, tucked away at the North Pole in blue coats. The Earth Nation also take after Chinese nobility, but are less warmongers and more your peaceful, everyday sort of people, with a big giant wall to protect them. Finally, the Air Nation resembles the Buddhist monks of Tibet, donning orange and yellow robes and bald heads, and living in floating cities high above the mountains. Everything is just so imaginative. And this is especially so when we talk about all the action scenes and the big action set pieces. These two revel in their wuxia action films, and they love martial arts in general. All of these action scenes flow like water, the animation for each element seamlessly being incorporated into the image and the action to create beautiful pieces of scenery and exciting combat. In general, this show has such a great visual style. It uses color palettes and crazy imagery to really enhance all these spiritual ideas and create a visually memorable world. I remember at the end of season 1, the moment when the show went into black and white to show that the light of the moon had died out. And then we had these red lights shooting everywhere to connote fire. It was absolutely above and beyond what a kids show can do visually. That was the exact moment this show won me over. It's just phenomenal stuff. Then we have to talk about the score. Keeping it in line with the setting and style of the show, this score is primarily done with Eastern style arrangements. We have string instruments like shamisen, kodos, and the like, all the while these pounding war drums are providing the rhythmic bass. We also have choirs chanting and singing along, adding even more to said rhythmic and melodic bass. Then on top of that, we are greeted to some traditional orchestral arrangements performing these very Eastern melodies. It's such a dynamic score and it makes the action pop so much. But now it's time to piss everyone off and discuss the writing. This show has to be the biggest case of, if it's this, then it's really this. But if it's that, then it's really that. Because when this show doesn't work, this show has some dog shit anime tier writing. Firstly, the show has some nasty tone issues. There are so many moments where they actively undercut amazing plot beats and character development for dumb jokes. For example, in the first episode of the show, we get introduced to Prince Zuko, and when Sokka comes in to try and fight him, he gets whacked into a snow pile. And we have to see him in the background, like stuck in snow, wriggling his legs trying to free himself. A sight gag. is completely ruining this very tense and serious moment. A sight gag. Then, there's an entire episode about a play where they recap over 2 seasons of TV in a very unfunny way, and then you have to sit through that garbage just to get to the character development that could have easily been done in the next episode without losing any momentum and pacing. And then there are moments where the show does the true anime hallmark of talking down to its audience and overwriting everything. Now, I may concede that some of this might be due to the target audience and who they're writing this for, and I may be more forgiving of that. You do have to simplify complex ideas for people whose brains haven't developed as much, i.e., kids. But sometimes, they over-explain such simple ideas and thematic discussions that even a kid wouldn't need it dumbed down that much. Like, it's quite insulting. But when this show is great, this show is truly fucking great. At its peak, this show can handle such hard ideas and dense philosophical subjects and manage to make them palatable for a young mind. One of my favorite episodes literally explains what the noble lie is through a fun little story. And that is another moment where this show won me over. The dialogue can be absolutely beautiful when it is actually treating the people who watch this show as smart. Every time Uncle Iroh speaks, it is just one memorable nugget of wisdom after another. But the hook of this show, though, is truly the characters. While in the plot summary I said this show is about Sokka and Katara, which it technically is, but it's actually more or less about Aang. But that's not to undercut all these other amazing characters. Every character is so memorable. Uncle Iroh, Sokka, Katara, Toph, Prince Zuko is probably one of the greatest screen villains of all time. And he goes through such a journey to become a better man and in the end a noble ruler. But our main character Aang here, he's essentially the Dalai Lama. And he has to embark on a spiritual journey to stop the evil Chinese emperor from destroying the world. On a surface level, Aang goes through the hero's journey. He grows up along with his friends, he learns what it means to become good and strong, and how to use his powers to help people. But on another level, Aang achieves some form of the Buddhist state of nirvana. He sheds most of his earthly desires. He does get the girl in the end, though. And when others forced him to think that the only way to defeat Ozai was to kill him, he went within himself to realize that there was another way, which was to strip Ozai of his powers and leave a power-hungry warmonger without his power, allowing the world to finally live in harmony. Death and destruction only begets more death and destruction, and Aang allowed himself to not let the great power he had cloud his judgment, and he managed to achieve, enlightenment. To bring this story to life, we have a great voice cast. In our lead role, Zach Tyler Eisen, at the age of fucking 12, gives a great performance as Aang. Growing with the character very much, his performance gets more nuanced and emotional as the show progresses, showing a young boy learning to become a man. Mae Whitman and Jack DeSena voice Katara and Sokka respectively, and create such a fun dynamic. Katara is your typical girl with a heart of gold character, and Sokka is the comedic relief. They both get so much to work with, and sell every emotion excellently, especially when these characters are forced into new situations. The three have such a great chemistry that I absolutely love. Another 2 performances that are just excellent are Dante Bosco and Mako as Prince Zuko and Uncle Iroh respectively. These 2 are just perfect foils for each other, and Dante Basco is part of the reason why Zuko works so well as a conflicted villain, as his performance is absolutely phenomenal, especially entering into season 2 and 3. And Mako just truly embodies the role of Uncle Iroh, and every scene he's in is fantastic. While unfortunately passing away before he could do the 3rd season, Mako's role was definitely in good hands when Greg Baldwin took over. His voice was noticeably similar, almost imperceptible in terms of difference. It's just great stuff. Also, Mark Hamill as Ozai. Man, you just can't go wrong with Mark Hamill. The guy's a beast when it comes to voicing villains. God damn. Overall, while this isn't the towering work of genius that a ton of people think it is, Avatar: The Last Airbender earned its following in my eyes. While it suffers from many of the maladies that plague anime stories, the strengths of the writing and the superb technical vision this show presents more than makes up for it. I would gladly revisit this show, and I look forward to that new video game that's coming out this year. It kinda looks fun. Anyways, if you want a cartoon that's a cut above the rest in terms of writing, this show, at its very best, is something that very few can match, and it's definitely one to prioritize. And I am feeling a 7.5 to an 8 out of 10 on this one. It's closer to an 8 on a nice day, just because of how great it can be. Catch you later, guys.